We are literally just hours away from the first game of the 2020 European Championship. Although we don't know who will win the title or whether Portugal will be able to defend their crown or not, one thing is for sure: this competition is always full of surprises and unlikely wins. Most of us were left gobsmacked when Greece lifted the European Championship at the expense of the much fancied Portugal side. 12 years later, Portugal reached the final of the competition as underdogs and managed to down France, who were heavy favourites to lift the title. That's the beauty of these competitions: there's always a chance for someone on the outside. But before we start talking about teams who could defy odds this month, let's have a quick discussion about an underdog. Why be an underdog? Okay, so nobody likes being in second place. Glory comes to those who cross the finish line first. You want to stand on top of the podium, but then again in life, there's always a winner and then there's always second best. Winning can be stressful, especially when you have to recreate success after success. That instills a fear of losing, a fear that can be so taxing that it starts affecting your performance. You know what we're talking about. Mostly in the finals of big competitions, both at club and international level, the best teams sort of struggle to play a brand of football that makes them great. Why do these teams act like that? It's because they're too scared of making a catastrophic mistake. These psychological barriers end up giving less fancied sides an advantage, since they don't have to be worried about someone chasing their tails. Without having a fear that someone might catch up to them is a liberating feeling. Such teams end up playing the game to their strengths while knowing that anything positive they achieve will be just a bonus. These teams don't have to manage expectations a lot either. When Iceland qualified for the Euros for the first time in their history back in 2016, nobody expected any wonders from them. However, they drew the group game against Portugal and defeated Austria to set up a round of 16 clash with England. They won that game 2-1, which was the tournament's biggest upset. While they did lose to France in the quarterfinals, the tiny little nation proved that being an underdog comes with a lot of benefits. This time around, we're expecting a few similar runs from teams that might not boast the sort of star power that the likes of France, Portugal and England possess, but are good enough to go really deep in the tournament. So let's start talking about these sides. And like we always say, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss out on all the good stuff that we keep conjuring all the time. Ukraine. The Ukrainians have underachieved a lot in recent years. They've not scored a single goal in their last 5 games at the Euros, which is something of an embarrassment. Ironically, the last player to score for Ukraine at the Euros is Andriy Shevchenko, the legendary AC Milan striker who happens to be their manager this time around. On top of that, star players Andriy Yarmolenko and Yevhen Konoplyanka are out injured, so the national side doesn't have a goal-scoring threat. However, they do boast a certain Roman Yaremchuk who plays for Ghent in Belgium. The 25-year-old netted 20 goals for the Belgian Giants last season and is their most informed player. Ruslan Malinovsky of Atalanta is another player who's been starring in Italy and heads into the tournament with 12 assists in the Serie A. In a group that contains Austria, the Netherlands and North Macedonia, Ukraine should be able to qualify for the next round and go further in the competition. Czech Republic. The current Czech squad lacks in star power, but then again, most of the teams qualify for such events without boasting star players. However, it does feel that Slavia Prague's escapades in the Europa League last term might serve as some sort of inspiration. Slavia defeated 2 British sides in Leicester and Rangers to reach the tournament's last 8. The national side boasts some really talented players who might be too hot to handle for the likes of England, Scotland and Croatia in Group D. In Tomas Souček, they have a box-to-box threat who loves scoring goals. Captain Vladimir Darida is the sort of player who'll play in any position the coach tells him to, while Sampdoria's Jakub Jankto is quite a handful out wide. Patrick Schick has done well for Bayer Leverkusen last season and will be eager to get the right service. They might not be able to go further in the tournament, but a compact and rigid defensive structure means that Czech Republic will definitely be a very tough nut to crack. Italy. Now, most of us will be wondering, why have Italy been put in this category? Well, truth be told, we didn't want to include them in the list either, but since a lot of football experts aren't putting them in the category of favourites to win the tournament, we thought calling them a dark horse wouldn't be that bad. They reached the final of the 2012 edition, but since then, they've been struggling to qualify for major competitions. However, this new look and young Italian side, headed by Roberto Mancini, is something unique. They qualified for the competition while boasting a 100% win record and conceded only 4 goals. The Azzurri play a very direct style of football and play out from the back. The likes of Jorginho and Marco Verratti dictate the play, while both fullbacks synchronise their movements. Traditionally, Italian sides are defensively very good, and this is the case here as well. Their centre-backs relish aerial duels, while their quick, dynamic forwards such as Domenico Berardi and Ciro Immobile are quite a handful. Their only weakness is a lack of depth in the fullback positions, but if you think you can rule them out of contention for the trophy, then you might be in for a reality check when the tournament kicks off. The Netherlands. The Netherlands won the European Championship back in 1988 under the astute guardianship of the legendary Rinus Michels, a man who had spun a web of intrigue at Ajax and then took his craft to Barcelona. While those days are long gone, it doesn't mean that the current Oranje squad is full of slouches. On the contrary, the current squad is brimming with young talent and youthful exuberance. They head into the Euros without their star players Virgil van Dijk and Donny van der Beek. But fret not, they've got quite a good defensive setup with Stefan de Vrij, Daley Blind and Matthijs de Ligt forming a 3-man defence. In Frenkie de Jong, they have a midfielder linchpin who's likely to form a great partnership with Jorginho Wijnaldum and young Ryan Gravenberch, a player whose stock continues to rise. Memphis Depay is in goal-scoring form and has struck quite the chord with Wout Weghorst, who scored 20 goals in the Bundesliga for Wolfsburg last season. Placed in Group C, the Dutch will play Austria, North Macedonia and Ukraine, so you can expect them to enter the next round. After missing out on qualification for the 2016 edition, Frank de Boer will be eager to see his team go really far in the competition, even though they're not being considered one of the favourites to lift the trophy. Expect them to possibly prove their doubters wrong. Turkey. Turkey have done fairly well in international football since the turn of the century. In the last 20 years, we've seen that they always seem to have good attacking players, but it's their defensive frailties that seem to haunt them every now and then. This time around, things should be different. Şenol Güneş has been able to reap the rewards of using a defensively strong and counter-attacking 4-2-3-1 formation, thanks to a really strong backline boasting the likes of Çağlar Soyuncu, Merih Demiral and Ozan Kabak. With an average age of 25 years, this is a young team, but they're definitely not lacking in experience. In 35-year-old Burak Yilmaz, they have a striker who knows his way to goal and, just like a fine wine, has gotten better with age. He scored 16 goals and provided 5 assists for Lille as they lifted the Ligue 1 crown. Then you have his Lille teammates Zeki Çelik and Yusuf Yazıcı, with the latter scoring 14 goals across all competitions. But that's not it. When you have a creative influence like Hakan Çalhanoğlu in your squad, you know that you'll have a lot of chances to score. The Milan playmaker created the most number of chances in Serie A. Historically, Turkey have never been lacking in creativity. Their issues have always arisen from the back. This time around, they've looked very solid at the back and conceded just 3 goals, which was the joint best alongside Belgium. To be honest, it'll be a huge surprise if Turkey are unable to make it through to the next round of the competition. After that, it'll come down to how good this team is at managing games. They have a good squad, might not have great depth, but if their best players stay injury-free, they might even go very far in the competition. They start their campaign against Italy, which will be the opening game of the competition. That game might be a difficult one, but if Turkey are able to hold their own against Roberto Mancini's men, you can expect them to only grow further in confidence.